Hello, it's Lion here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and this is a review slash talking slash discussion, a discussion about the first half of The Mandalorian Season 3. Now, I'm doing this after the fourth episode because the reason I want to talk about it right now is because of the fourth episode, but also because I'm pretty sure this is the mid-season, because most Mandalorian seasons have 8 episodes. But it might not be, because, we never know until all of the episodes are out. But I do think that we are at the mid-season. I think that makes sense. And it's because I've seen a lot of people be upset at The Mandalorian in a way that doesn't really make sense to me, right? Like, I understand, some ideas about why The Mandalorian might be bad. But I've seen a lot of people complain after this fourth episode about how Din gets sidelined in his story. And I don't understand that point. So I'm going to talk about, my experiences with The Mandalorian today. So, first of all, I do want to kind of baseline where I'm coming from. So, I'm a big fan of Star Wars, always have been. I was born in 1999, so Star Wars had just picked up its craze again after I was born. I grew up during the initial run of the Clone Wars, and I loved the Clone Wars. And Star Wars has always been something I bond with my dad, right? Eventually, Disney bought Star Wars, and they started making content, and generally speaking, I didn't really like it. I liked the movies each time I watched them for the first time. So, I enjoyed The Force Awakens the first time I watched it, and I actually generally do still enjoy it, but I don't really like it all that much because... you watch that movie and you know what comes after, and it spoils the fact that, it was cool because that garbage follows it, right? I like The Last Jedi, right? That's the second one, the Rian Johnson one, initially because I thought it looked really cool, but the story is bad. It doesn't work. The fact that Rian Johnson says he wanted to give it an ending and he can't, admit that he did wrong, is bad. It doesn't work. It's just not a good movie. It's not enjoyable. The fact that it has nothing to do with the first one, except for the through line of Rey being a character, sucks. The fact that Finn was sidelined, even though he's probably the most interesting character, sucks. Kylo Ren's buddies and the backstory is not good. I just don't like The Last Jedi. And The Rise of Skywalker is fun. It's an interesting kind of romp, but it's not actually good. And the story is bad. And basically the sequels shit on the rest of the story by not including anything of the prequels, and also by having the main character be so powerful that the chosen one doesn't make any more sense, right? The thing that I hate the most, which Grogu does too, but mostly it's Rey, is force healing. Because if force healing is possible, why did Anakin turn to the dark side? It's stupid, right? The ability of having force healing after Anakin is bad because it means that Anakin was stupid, which is not supposed to be good, right? That doesn't make any sense based on the story. The point was that only a certain group of people that tap into a certain type of force can affect the living and the dead. And it's actually not really true. But Palpatine makes this argument for Anakin, and it turns Anakin to the dark side. And then 2 movies later, it's oh, yeah, we can force heal. Sorry. I don't like that, right? So that's it. Now, talk about The Mandalorian. I really enjoy The Mandalorian. I don't like the Book of Boba Fett because the Boba Fett episodes are not that good. And honestly, the way that it was marketed was Boba Fett is going to be an awesome gangster show. And what we got is a geriatric trying to take over a little town and vaguely succeeding because he had this hot ninja chick beat the shit out of everyone for him. So it's not good, right? However, the 2.5 episodes that are about The Mandalorian, awesome. The best part of that show, and honestly some of the best episodes of The Mandalorian, right? So yeah. However, this is where the problems for season 3 start. Because I think people are too caught up in the idea of seasons having one large quest. And the fact that the third quest of The Mandalorian has been split across half of a show elsewhere and then completed in the first half of the season fucks people up, and they just can't like compute, and so like it's so stupid. Like, it makes no sense, right? Like, The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett clearly are one interconnected story. The Book of Boba Fett is Mandalorian 2.5, and even though it shouldn't have been, it is, and that's just how it goes. So the one quest per season arc thing has been broken the moment the Mandalorian's flute played in front of the meat market thing, in episode 5 of Book of Boba Fett. So that's the start of season 3. Then Mandalorian deals with the fact that he can't have anything. And then he is told, hey, you have to go redeem yourself in the living waters because you took your helmet off. So he goes to see Grogu, and then he gets sidelined by Boba Fett. And he gets his new car, his N1 Starfighter. And then the 4th episode is episode 1 of season 3, where he finally starts getting to Mandalore. And then episode 5 when he gets redeemed. And then we get a side story. And then, that's basically how it goes. So episode 4 of season 3 is the end of the 3rd quest. It is the episode at the beginning of the season when things are being reestablished. And it leads into the next episode where a new quest will be given. At least that's how I think it's going to go. Because that makes sense. Like, people that are like saying that, from the get-go, we always know what the quest is for the season are wrong, because that is not true. The Mandalorian took 3 episodes in the first season to tell you, hey, this baby exists, we have to protect it. And then he did a bunch of side quests that kind of helped him. And then eventually, it led into season 2, which was, you have to take this baby to a Jedi. There's also side quests there that had nothing to do with it, right? Like the frog lady. Or at least, it did have to do with stuff. But like, by the logic of these people that are crazy and think that Din Djarin is not the main character of The Mandalorian, or think that he's being sidelined, they would say that it has no bearing on the story, right? Because that's the logic they're applying right now. But that's not true. It clearly has stuff to do, right? So, I don't know. I think it's really ridiculous. People are just getting unnecessarily angry. And just the weird way, like, dude, The Mandalorian is still awesome. Everything that we've seen is cool. Yes, there's some issues, and I actually do have some issues with the series, not just like, I'm not just saying that to kind of ease my point or something, like a lot of people do, how, in school they taught you, hey, you have to write this argument, and then at some point you have to admit that there's problems so that people will not be able to tell you that you don't admit that there's problems, right? I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to, ease into another segment of the story here, or another segment of the video where I kind of talk about my problems. But generally speaking, my problems are pretty minimal, and they're mostly to do with editing, which is that sometimes it feels like a scene was supposed to be longer, and they cut it in pieces and then restructured it so it was shorter. In the first episode of season 4, when the armorer is trying to help that one Mandalorian that fell under the water and that was about to be squished by the snapping turtle alligator thing, she's carrying him off, right? But they're walking slowly because they're armored, they're wet, and, they actually can't move as fast as you would think they would be able to, right? Or that you would want them to be able to. So she's moving slowly, and it looks like the animal's about to, like, squish them, right? So what happens is that there's a scene cut, and basically the armor and the Mandalorian she's carrying jump like 4 feet ahead. And it's annoying because it's like, that is very clear. I can clearly see that you did this. So why would you do that? Just shoot the scene from a different angle so it doesn't look like that. Or better yet, because the monster is not real and it's CGI, move the monster back a little bit so that doesn't happen, right? Like, I don't know. It's kind of odd to me. So this happens like a few times in the series, and I don't like it because it's very easy to tell, and it just doesn't work for me. The other thing is the length of episodes is not great, but generally that's kind of par for the course. The Mandalorian has always had short episodes, so it's not that big of a deal. But it is kind of annoying that it's like HBO can give you an hour and a half of awesome content featuring Pedro Pascal, and then The Mandalorian gives you like breadcrumbs compared to that, right? And it's just like, dude, I know that it's like hard and expensive, but like, you guys are Disney. Like, you guys are supposed to be the top dog of entertainment, and you're using the top dog of franchises, and you can't give us more than 20 minutes of an episode. That's really fucking lame, right? And then moving on, kind of related to both of these things, is that episodes 3 and 4 should have been combined and split in half. Because the way that story is structured is leading people to be upset because of the way that The Mandalorian starts for like 10 minutes and then it cuts to Pershing, and then that goes on for like ever, and then there's like 4 minutes at the end of The Mandalorian. If you had combined that story with the story from episode 4, and combined them, restructured them, and kind of made it so that it's 2 stories happening either at the same time or kind of in a more chronological order, like in some other way, it would have been really interesting. However, I think the problem with that would be that Grogu's flashbacks happen in the exact same locations as Pershing's current story, and that might be a little bit confusing. But, you know, do the Obi-Wan hazy thing for the flashbacks, and I think it'd be fine. So, I don't know. I definitely think they kind of fumbled the bag there, and it would have been better to have 2 35 to 40 minute episodes instead of 1 hour long episode and then 1 25-minute long episode, right? So that's just me, maybe, but I think that would have been better. Or maybe kind of have it so that the Pershing story is split in half, and then you get the first part of The Mandalorian where he takes Bo-Katan to the cult. She gets involved in the cult. Then get the first half of the Pershing story. Then go back to Mandalorian. And when the kid gets taken, cut the episode, and then start the next episode with that part of the story, plus Grogu's flashbacks, plus the rest of the Pershing story. I don't know, like some other way would have been better instead of what they gave us, because it sucks to have a 1 hour long episode that people find boring because there's not enough Mandalorian shooting each other, even though the fact that it's amazing world building and it actually kind of helps mend a little bit of the issues with the sequels. Even though I still don't like them, honestly, I would have preferred if they just ignored the sequels, but they won't do that because they can't, basically. Because that would be alienating a whole segment of the fan base, you know. A segment of the fan base is kind of delusional, but like a segment of the fan base nonetheless. So they would have to include them anyways. So they have to do that. And, you know, Pershing's story is actually really good at explaining, hey, there's problems with this, you know, New Republic, and that's why they fall so easily, and why they get destroyed in the first movie, you know, in the sequel trilogy, like so easily, right? So, I don't know. It's a lot of problems, you know, for that kind of story, but The Mandalorian is still good, and I don't understand people's issues with The Mandalorian because they just don't make sense to me. Like, Din is still the main character. He has been the main character of this segment of the story, you know, very clearly, and he has been the main character of the whole story the whole time. Like, I don't understand this. Like, I think it's just because people are getting caught up on the season per, like 1 season per quest kind of thing, or 1 quest per season, and they can't realize that doesn't exist anymore. Like, that only existed for the first 2 seasons, and it got broken by the Book of Boba Fett, and the Book of Boba Fett is more like, hey, how about we change it for 1 quest per, you know, segment of storytelling, instead of like 1 quest per season, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just me, though. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys thought. Am I right? Am I wrong about The Mandalorian? I don't know. Like, just tell me what you guys think. Or tell me I'm wrong. Either way, just let me know down in the comments. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.